incumbent senator. She's the vice speaker of the Guam legislature, Senator Telena Nelson. Good morning, Senator.
Hi,
Vice.
Telena.
Hi, good morning, Chris and Sabrina.
Good morning.
Let's just start at the beginning. Your second term. How do you think your performance has been, and what do you anticipate doing if elected to another term in the Guam legislature?
I feel that I got a little sidetracked with the impact of the pandemic, COVID-19. There was a lot more work that we wanted to accomplish, and new items keep on popping up, and so we're never done with the work. But I noticed that during this term, there was a great need for unemployment benefits and unemployment insurance, and so that I'm hoping that if elected in the next term, that we would focus on finding a way to implement some unemployment insurance program for our island, and also work a little bit more harder on rehabilitation programs. I still like to work with DOE. They're a huge agency, and there's a lot of checks and balances that are required. So I'd like to I haven't fully understood how the money is processed through DOE. They receive around 32% of our taxpayers' dollars, and there's always a need for more. And so really, I haven't really understood this $100 million shortfall that they are always lacking with their request, even though they are offset by a lot of grants, consolidated grants. And so also the transitioning from a lot of the DOE students going into charter schools. So how do we balance the appropriation when a DOE loses a student and he goes into charter schools and it's at half the cost, sending your child to a charter school? So these are just some of the avenues I'd like to look in, but definitely more focused on rehabilitation programs and just doing what we can to serve the island. Mm-hmm. There's so much work that we do that goes on behind the scenes, helping constituents and from assisting them into power agreement payments and water payments. And so these are just some of the items, and even some dealing with domestic violence, and just helping them find the right avenues to look for, or the right programs or agencies to look for assistance.
Mm-hmm. Vice, in your first term, I felt like you were a really firm hand on for public safety, right? And with the divvying up of the committees for this term, obviously it was a little bit different. Looking forward, if elected to another term, what committees and agencies are you going to be trying to get oversight over? Because I really felt like public safety was kind of like your center, and for whatever reason, I feel like there's just been a lack of anything really with public safety.
And I just wanted to follow up on that, because you said the COVID kind of sidetracked everybody, right? But you were on a roll, I thought, with the oversight hearings you were having over at the Department of Corrections, with the erroneous releases, and then the whole thing with the Jotnya mayor. It really bothers me that I haven't seen any resolution or any answers as to what exactly was going on with DOC and people being able to pay people so they could get out for a couple of days. And then the allegations involving the judiciary and GPD. I mean, what will you do, or what do you plan to do to close the door on this corruption or these allegations of corruption, or get to the bottom of what exactly happened? Because the people deserve better.
Yes, and we have a new acting director, Joe Carbolito, and he has really stepped up to the plate and providing a real oversight and management and operational transition. And so Well, I guess since I'm the vice chair of the committee, I guess it feels like I'm doing all the work here.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Vice, is I think
And you stepped up.
Yeah, and what we have here is we have this whole issue, and I feel like the only reason why we can't close the door on it is because Senator Peto's son is involved, and it's terrible. It really is. I mean, we've in effect have not really done anything with public safety at the legislature. I mean, since the time we're talking about. So how do we, I mean, as the vice chair, and the reason why we're asking you is because we can't ask Senator Peto because he's compromised.
And not only that, I mean, when all this came out, you were holding these oversight hearings.
And I remember when you were the chair of public safety in your previous term, you were really going to task and, holding the police department and the chief accountable, which is something we have not seen at all this term.
So just as a recap, there was an issue with some of the, I guess it seemed more of a character issue with the director of DOC at that time. And so a lot of the leadership in the Department of Corrections, wanted a different director, basically. And so that was the whole purpose of the oversight. I really believe that Samantha Brennan really tried to turn things around, and she really tried, to meet the needs of not just the inmates but also the employees. But it was just it appeared that the director and the deputy director were not of the same mind and same mission and vision. And so when the whole situation came up with the deputy director being compromised, and then somehow the warden came into play. And so these were the things that they are doing the investigations on the, alleged revolving door at the halfway house. I think it was post 9. And so really, the director at that time started to build a fence around the post 9, which really wasn't the intent of the halfway house. And so, of course, a lot of people did not feel that that was the right decision to make. But, the end state was, well, we got to stop these people from leaving. And, DOC is severely understaffed, and underfunded. And so that was the option that, she felt and, that she had to do to protect the community. And because the issue was just by the action of the those that are in the halfway house, they weren't following the rules. And so she felt that perhaps that was the best way to protect our DOC officers there. I do know that DOC has been able to recruit more officers, but they still need more assistance. I've spoken with the acting director now, and he has been very accommodating to understanding the needs of the inmates. And in one instance, we had several phone calls from inmates saying that they missed a dinner meal because the food was spoiled. And so, I called the director and I wrote him a letter and I asked him, there has to be, what is the SOP for these things? What is your second corrective action if this should happen again? Who are you in contract with for providing meals? And so he was very responsive. And I asked him also if he could accommodate these inmates who missed a dinner meal with an extra meal the next day, or, as soon as you're able to get your hands in control of the situation. And he did. The inmates called back and they said, we were given our extra meals. So he's doing things in a very humane way. He understands the needs of the inmates. I know that he has a lot of respect and support from the leadership and Department of Corrections. He's moving also to see what we can do for a master plan. And really that's an executive branch function to move forward to improve the prison construct. And some countries have started a prison construct where they're no longer kept in cells. They're kept into rooms and, treated like humans and not animals. And so This also helps reduce the recidivism in those countries that have, implemented these measures. And so, really, it's an avenue to, yes, they've done a great harm to society. Some of them are addicts. Majority of them are addicts, actually, or are in or well, yeah, majority of them are addicts. And so, really, you don't. It's very you don't teach an addict a lesson by putting him in a cell and you know if it's a non-violent crime and whatnot. But no, we do have a lot to work on the checks and balances and transparency. And so I did public safety the first term, just to understand how it worked. And I think that we did a lot of work, and we really did do a lot of work. I mean, it was very challenging for me. I mean, to be called by J.I. Cruz to step down, and at the same time, he's shutting down precincts for political ploy. Right. And, various, and the director of DOC to step down as public safety chair. It was just very, it was a challenging time, but I knew that what we were doing was the right thing. And so I stuck with it. And we also did a lot of work to help our public safety officers. And so, I was hoping that maybe I can move to another agency to understand really how the government of Guam works, how it functions, and to see the challenges that it has, and to try to address the challenges of the past, but also the current challenges that are today. And so I've been focusing a lot on Department of Education because for me, our children need an education, especially in light of this COVID, and their safety is my foremost concern. They go home to their parents, and we don't want to see children getting sick from this COVID. So, I'm holding roundtable discussions and roundtable hearings and informational hearings with Department of Education just about every week, just as we transition into the next school year, covering all areas of safety, curriculum, special education, and the budget and the Education Finance Supervisory Commission. And so, that is where I'm putting my focus, and also trying to find ways before the term ends to get appropriation for Lighthouse and Oasis. It's just really moving forward to seeing the need today. The need today is, there has been studies in the United States that because of COVID, people are going into depression. People are using or are purchasing excessive amounts of alcohol, and people are also turning to drugs during this time more often than usual.
Vice, we have a minute. Sorry for your closing.
Oh, sorry.
No. I'm just letting you know we got a minute. So go for it.
Okay, so that's my concern is how do we help our community? And I would implore the chair of public safety to hold the same series of roundtable hearings with the police department and DOC in all areas that he covers, and Department of Military Affairs, especially because the National Guard has been participating in a lot of the COVID responses.
Okay, thanks, Vice Speaker. Are we out of time?
Thank you.
Yeah, we are.
Have a good day.
You
Have a good day.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Let's see you, Vice. Wash your hands, wear your mask. 9:53, Vice Speaker Telena Nelson there with her candidate interview. And we're really kind of focused a lot on public safety with her. She's the vice chair of the Public Safety Committee at the legislature. I thought it was really interesting, though, and how she had hearkened back to her first term. And we all remember that.
But that first term, or was it?
That was her first term, yeah. She was the public safety chair?
Mm-hmm, yeah, but she was the public safety vice chair holding oversights over DOC.
In this term, because the chair had to recuse himself, right? But
that happened last year,
yes,
or earlier this year.
Yeah.
When all of these allegations were coming out.
Yeah. So what I thought was interesting was she talked about in her first term how it's no secret, they just went hard on, because it was a Republican administration. And she had talked about, calling out former Chief J.I. Cruz. And I just think it's interesting. Again, this is a lot of the conversation is why aren't we seeing this same posturing now? We haven't seen I haven't even seen the chief of police, and it's been months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did they ever have an oversight hearing over the Guam Police Department?
No, I don't think so.
or the
yeah.
judiciary or any of this.
I mean, I think
It
Senator
really
Teresa,
does bother me.
it does, and it's fishy.